Hey all, my name is Paul Borosky, and I am the owner of Quality Business Plan, as well as the author and publisher of the Beginner's Guide to Understanding Financial Statements and Financial Ratios, which is on Amazon, as well as I do publish financial reports as well as beginner guides for individual companies such as Apple, Microsoft, and so forth. So what I'd like to do today is kind of give you all some thoughts and ideas and a better understanding as to what the difference is between my beginner's guide and my financial report, because I do offer both of those products for individual companies. However, there is a distinct difference, and obviously if there is a difference, there's going to be a price difference as well if you decide to either purchase the beginner's guide or the financial report. All right, so without further ado, what I'm going to do is give you all a little bit of background about me, what I do and how I do it, a little bit of experiences, and then from there, I'm going to go ahead and show you all a comparison between the beginner's guide and the financial report, so you can go ahead and make an educated decision as to which product might best meet your needs. All right, so as promised, a little bit about me. I am a professional writer. Specifically, I write about business and I write about finance. So I love to write. I am a writer, and thus why these financial reports, which I've been doing since about 2018. That's why it's kind of in my wheelhouse. I like to write, and I love the numbers. So financial reports are my thing. Also, I have published several books on Amazon in reference to finance, specifically beginner's guides to understanding financial projections and financial statements such as the income statement and balance sheet, and also financial ratios. And then finally, I am an adjunct professor and subject matter expert for both business and finance. So I do have some teaching skills in relations to both business and finance under my belt. All right, so with that said, let me go ahead and introduce y'all to my handy dandy little reports here. So to the left right here is a beginner's guide to Apple Incorporated financial analysis. And then to the right, I've got the Apple Incorporated financial analysis by myself. And so the differences between the two is going to be you're going to have a lot of the same content. So the financial analysis is built upon the beginner's guide. So for example, we've got about 50 pages right here in the beginner's guide, whereas in the for this example right here, and it is example, there's about 69, 70 pages for this example. Now the document's going to be on my website. It's going to be a little bit different than what I'm showing you right here, again, because it's an example. All right, so the way that my beginner's guide starts off is going to be, I'm going to briefly introduce the income statement. So I'll give you a little idea about what's in the income statement, why it's important. Then I'm going to give you a sample income statement, or a sample income statement in reference to the organization. So what I do is I research the last 5 years for the company, in this example for Apple, and then what I do is I summarize the information that I find for the income statement into my financial model, and it's going to look similar to this right here. So both of my beginner's guide and also my financial report start off the same. I then go into individual line items. So for example, revenues. I'm going to discuss revenues in both documents. So I'll talk about revenues right here. I will define revenues, and then I'm going to give you the definition of that line item in other words. And then I'm also going to give you some financial tips. So here's some analyst tips. So here are some tips and thoughts when you're analyzing whatever company you're going to be analyzing, whether it's Apple or Netflix or whatever. I then go ahead and provide y'all with the revenues right underneath. That line item is going to be right underneath to give you all an idea. When you're doing the analyst tips, you're going to then be able to look at the revenues and then a comparison to some other line item for the most part. So in this example right here, I break out the revenues, and then I'll give you the revenue growth year over year. Now the difference for the financial report comes into the analyst section. So underneath, for the most part, underneath each individual line item, I'm going to then go ahead and provide an analyst giving you all some of my thoughts and ideas as to what's going on with some of the trends, what they mean. Usually it's going to be anywhere between one sentence to 2 to 3 paragraphs, but for the most part, it's going to be about 3 to 4 sentences for the analysis to give you give you all some thoughts and ideas about it. And then I'm also going to give y'all An analyst grade. This is my thought based on the revenues for Apple. My analyst grade for myself personally is going to be an A. I think they're doing a pretty good job with this, thus the A, and the supporting thoughts and ideas would be right here. So that is one of the main differences between for the balance sheet and the income statement between the two documents. Now, another segment that's important is going to be the financial for the financial ratios. And I do structure my financial ratios a little bit differently. And let me show y'all an example of that. And we're going to go and go. All right, so here's the financial ratio section. And then let me show y'all the financial ratio section over here. Balance sheet. Keep going and going. And there are no graphs included in this. For this copy right here, there are graphs, but there are no graphs in the financial analysis part or the financial report. And give me 1 second. And here it is. All right, so here's the financial ratio. So again, we start off the same between the beginner's guide here and the financial report here. And then what I do is I'm going to go ahead and give you all the calculations for various ratios. So here are the calculations that I use. Here are the calculations that I use. And then here's a summary of the liquidity ratios, and then a summary of the liquidity ratios. So again, both documents are the same. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to, the difference between the financial ratios section and the financial for the financial statement section is for the financial ratios. I'm going to go ahead and supply y'all with the formula. So for current ratio, here's an explanation of current ratio. Here's the formula for current ratio. And both documents are going to have that. I'm going to give you, in other words, thoughts and ideas about what the financial ratio means. I'm then going to go ahead and give y'all, that graph is not included. I'm going to give you all some analysis tips as to what you should be looking for when analyzing current ratios for the organization. But the difference here for the financial report is I'm going to again give you some thoughts and ideas, again 2 to 3 sentences typically, but it could be 1, it could be up to 3 paragraphs. It just depends. Then I'm going to give you some thoughts and ideas as what's going on, what this financial ratio means in my personal humble opinion. And then again, I'm going to give you a grade or analysis. And so if from my analysis for this financial ratio, I'm going to consider it an A. The organization's pulling a current ratio 1.07, which is the gold standard for a current ratio. From the perspective of financial analysis, it could be 1.0. So they're not too high. They were significantly higher in 19 and 20, but they brought it down quite well in 21 at a 1.07. So I gave them an A for my analysis. So I'll go ahead and justify why I'm going to give them a grade, and then I give them a grade right here. So that's going to be the difference between the two reports. Is this report is not going to have the analysis segment. This report is going to have the analysis segment, and I do that for most of the common ratios. I don't do it for all the ratios and all the line items, but for the most part I do. That's why it's going to be 10 to 20 pages more here as compared to here. Now, what I use to determine where these ratios come from, I have a proprietary spreadsheet that I use, and I plug in information from each public company that I analyze. Please understand this this financial model that I use, it is not for sale. And I have people ask me all the time that they want the financial model. Unfortunately, it is proprietary, so I know I don't sell it. But this is the model that I use, and the way that this information is worked out is I'll go ahead and research the income statements for a public company, again, such as Apple, for the last 5 years. I'm going to summarize that information right here and plug it into my financial model. And then what happens with the financial model is it calculates all this information will then populate based on this information up here. I do the same thing for the balance sheet. I'm going to plug in all my information. I'm going to summarize the information from the research that I do for Apple or whatever company it is. I'm going to summarize it, put it into the balance sheet, and then these various calculations are going to present themselves. And then finally, the financial ratios. Here are the financial ratios that I use. Each one of these are going to have some calculations into it. And so the calculations are already here. And once the calculations are done, then each financial ratio is going to, again, be populated. And this is the information that I use to write up my report. And for the beginner's guide, this is the information that I'm going to plug into the template that I use for each one of the organizations. All right, so hopefully this is going to help clear up what the difference is between my beginner's guide and my financial report. If you like what you see and you want to go ahead and pick up one of my financial reports, all you have to do is go over to qualitybusinessplan.com/public company financial reports. And what you'll be able to find is you're going to have the opportunity to pick, for the most part, you're going to have opportunity to buy either my beginner's guide that uses the current information for a specific company, or you can get the financial report that includes the analysis section for the company. So hopefully this video was helpful. As always, if you like to give me a thumbs up, and have a fantastic day. Thank you.